Hello viewers, Pagani Gaming here, and welcome back to the second half of the Wheel to Wheel season 14. We're at round 10 now at Bathurst in the Group 3s. And you may notice that our Group 3 car does sound a little different here. That's because with the second half of the season we get a fresh batch of manufacturers. So, first half of the season we decided that we'll go for the McLaren. Very great car. Now we're switching to something a little bit more challenging, and a little bit is being quite generous. We're now trying our hands on the Lamborghini Huracan. Now, the GR3 Huracan is a handful to say the least. Then to drive it around Bathurst is making that challenge even 10 times harder. The Group 4 is quite an amazing car to drive, but with driving the Group 4 you also have to drive the Group 3. So the Lamborghini is one of those cars that if you can control it, if you can tame the bull, it will reward you. So it's one of those cars that you have to really push it to get the absolute most out of it. And if you don't, and if you make even the slightest mistake, it is going to bite you back. So we can see here, we're doing our quality lap now, and we're already purple in this first sector and the second sector. This is a very rough ride here down the mountain. The bull does not like going down from Skyline down to Forest Hill, but it loses about half a second, if not more, just on that short sector of track. So you see here, we're up on purple by 1/100th of a second, and you'll see here as we're coming down through to start our third sector, we're going to be already down by 0.8 of a second. Now, as you saw, it probably wasn't my best run down through the mountain, but it does set a pretty good example on how hard this car is to drive down here. So we knew we were in for a really tough second half of the season, but what we did know is that the Bull can be a drivable car. You know, if you can hook it up and you can make it work, it will reward you. And it's one of those cars that once people notice that you are doing really well in a Lamborghini, you do look like a really good driver. So we improved on our best lap there ever so slightly, which is good enough for P5. We're lining up here on the grid, and we're doing an 8 lap out for the first race. There's 2 races this round. The first race is 8 laps on the medium tyres only. We get a pretty good start here. We're already forcing our way through up into the back of Baggins here. Try and force a little bit of a mistake. Go up on the inside of Madrid using the 4GT. That car is an absolute bullet down Mountain Straight and Conrod Straight. That thing will definitely be flying past us later on in the lap. But we're already here in lap 5, onto position 5 now. And we're coming through to the bend. Now, again, the Bull is a really hard car to drive, and we've got cars up ahead of us that are a lot easier to drive and are probably easier on their tyres. So one of the tricks to driving the Lamborghini is to have the brake bias all the way to the front. That helps with braking stability and helps with also tyre wear as well. This car does like to chew its tyres quite a lot. You'll see later in the second race how the back right tyre is significantly more worn compared to the rest of the tyres. You see we get a pretty bad run there into Skyline, bumping the inside curb. That's really going to ruin our run. And we entering this round with the best we could really settle for was a top 5. We're getting a shocking run down through the dipper, and that's really going to open the door for Madridsky to really set himself up here for a nice pass down on Conrod Straight. Now, down Conrod Straight, the Lamborghini could probably get around 265, 270 maybe, down Conrod. And look, we haven't even passed the sector line yet, and the 4GT is already flying. That car can well and truly hit probably 290, maybe close to 300 kilometers. It's just an absolute bullet down straight, but it's shocking in the corners with his braking and turning ability. So Madridsky enters that corner a little bit too early, taking a really shallow line. Now we know we can't stay behind the 4GT. We have to pass it. It's absolutely shocking in the corners, so we sent it down into Murray's corner, and we get ourselves back up into P5. Now, with this race, nothing much happened here. All best we could do was just kind of really defend the position that we already had. We knew the top 4 were already out of reach unless something had happened. You know, one of them spun out. The Bathurst is quite a hard track to master. especially coming from Skyline down to Forest Orbo, you can make a mistake, and making a mistake at the dippo especially, it can really ruin a race, because it does take about 20 seconds to get yourself pointing in the right direction depending on how you spun it. So you can see there, Madriski has unfortunately for him outbraking himself coming into the bend, entering that corner with a little bit too much speed and braking even later than by the Lamborghini standards, running himself wide up into the barrier. So back up into P5 for the second time of asking, and we now have Baker Boy, who's in the Ferrari Group 3, another MR car behind us. But fortunately for him, that MR car is a little bit easier to drive compared to the Lambo, but the Group 4 the Lambo does outweigh it just a little bit in terms of overall manufacturer performance. So we can see here getting a really shocking run down through the dipper and pretty much getting spat back out. We couldn't really do too much to get ourselves off the racing line. We didn't want to make any drastic corrections just in case it did upset the car. The Lamborghini is one of those cars where you don't expect to go sideways through certain corners. You know, at a certain part of this race, I'm going sideways through the bend, through the cutting, through corners that you don't really expect to be going sideways through. And you can see there, Baker Boy gets a really good bump there from Madriski. We've now gone down into 7th, so which we had a feeling this is going to be what our end result was. But unfortunately for Madriski and Baker, Madriski misses his braking marker, carrying way too much speed. Another car goes off as well, getting probably distracted, and we see behind us just an absolute swarm of headlights behind us, probably trying to regather themselves. But maybe Madriski and Baker had a really poor redress. But yeah, as I said before, finishing off this race, nothing much more would happen after that, and we ended up finishing in P5, which, to be honest, wasn't a bad result, but wasn't the best result. We knew that the Hurricane wasn't really good around here, so the best we could settle for was probably 5th, and we were happy with the top 5. On to race 2 now, a 19 lapper with the hards and medium tyres being compulsory with all 3 tyres, so the medium, the hards and the softs all being available. Grid was set off the reverse of race 1 results, so we started in 8th, got a really good start off the line, and apparently the Hurricane really likes the hard tyre start. Gets a nice amount of wheel spin to keep itself in the power range. So we've already promoted ourselves up into P5. Now, entering this race, we didn't have much of a strategy set out. Thankfully for us, we were in the later time split, so we did get the privilege of watching the Div 1 guys set about their races and trying to see what strategy they were going to set. So we had an idea that the two drivers that won the race were very close to each other, came in at the end of lap 1 on hard tyres, then went on to mediums, and then changed at around lap 11 to go onto a soft tyre. So we knew that our Hurricane probably couldn't do those exact laps, generally because of the tyre wear that the Hurricane has. So we knew we might have to pit a lap or 2 later. You can see that we've got an unfortunate bump there from Broken Spoke. Thankfully for us, we didn't get hit with the track limit penalty, cutting Skyline. So we knew we probably would have come in at around lap 2, lap 3 on the hard tyres, just to try and give our soft tyre runs as much of a fighting chance as possible towards the end of the race. So we see here, currently in P5, we've got Broken Spoke behind us. We know that Alpha's got some pretty good grunt for that little thing. And we've got Baker, ZD, Packer and Madriski well but truly in fun. Probably well out of reach now. I think Broken Spoke tried to go around on the inside there, but unfortunately too much overlap and just gave me a bit of a bump. And he gave me a little bit more of a love tap coming into the chase. Thankfully not enough to send me off track. But I think at that point he might stand a better chance of just staying behind me. So we see there ZD coming after one lap to dump those hards and go onto a medium tyre. So we knew we were in for a really long battle here. The Hurricane isn't one of the best cars for pure endurance racing. The tyres and the fuel, it's got some shocking fuel consumption. We see there up ahead, Baker and Madriski running wide, coming into Murray's corner. And I think Madriski maybe even gave Baker a bit of a bump into there. So at the end of lap 2, we dumped the hard tyres and get put into the mediums, and we get put into some really clean air. Now, what this pretty much gave us, we had 7 or so laps, or maybe even more, of just pure clean running. We did pass a couple of drivers in the pits. We passed one in the pits, And then we caught up to, I believe it was Broken Spoke here. Yeah, unfortunately for him, getting caught out through the dipper. None of the MR cars like the dipper at all. And then coming to lap 2, we had a very close call with, I believe it was Palmer. Yes, Palmer, who lost it just before Griffin. So we couldn't really put all our trust into the Gran Turismo ghosting system. So we took the precautionary step of moving off race line, which really compromised our run through there. On lap 12 now, we've got our championship rival here on our right side. Luck goes my way, who's chosen the Beetle, which is a really strong car around here. Was well and truly within a shout of getting a victory or two around here. So the best we could do was just try and hold him off, try and really push him on his tyres and make him burn his medium compound as much as possible, because we knew we were going to come in with the next lap or two. So the best we could do was just try and really hurt his tyres and maybe give ourselves a fighting chance towards the end. But we see there, getting a horrible run through the dipper once again in the Lamborghini, nothing new there. Coming into Forest Elbow, we're going to really compromise our entry here, try and just block us, try and just block the door on Lucky, in this case he goes for a send, but that really hurts our exit coming out of here. So he's going to get a really good tow. The Volkswagen is actually one of the very few cars that has a 7th gear for the Group 3 car, so he's got some really good top end. So he's going to slowly but surely try and make his way past us, and we're going to shut the door on him here. We knew we were still in front. We had the rights to that corner, and we knew we were trying to hold him off for as long as possible. Maybe if he's probably saved us about a second or two, to be honest. And then just to mug him off a little bit more, we're going to dive into the pits here and then drop these medium tires and put on a soft tire. Now the pit entry at Bathurst was very sketchy. If you did mess it up, you would be hit with at least a 30-second penalty, depending on how bad it was. There was instances where drivers were getting hit with a 5-second penalty just based off completely missing the corner in all. So coming out of the pits into P7 once again in some pretty solid air, so we get to really look after those tires and hopefully try and keep him alive as much as possible. Unfortunately, we couldn't progress more than 7th. We had Baggins who were chasing down at one stage, but unfortunately for us, we had to look after our fuel. We crossed the line with 0%, and we also had to be mindful of our tires. But overall, a pretty decent result. Like we said at the beginning of the video, we were happy with the top 5. Overall, we did get top 5 in one of the races, and probably could have got a top 5, maybe a top 6 in one of the second race. But yeah, once again, this is a result we're gonna have to get used to with the Group 3 Lambo until we completely tame it. Hopefully we just outscore our other opponents by a significant margin in the Group 4 categories. Onto the Div 2 leaderboards now, and we can see we've widened the gap between myself and Lucky with that showing at Bathurst. We also had MCDC have a really decent round as well in the Nissan GTR. Onto the team championships now, and we can see that we've also dropped a little bit. We're down in P5 at the moment, but the gap to first is only 600 or so points, so there's still a lot up for grabs here between the next 8 rounds. We only have to average around a 90-point gain per round on the lead Fang at Racing. But next round is at Tokyo South counterclockwise, a track that's rumored to really favor the Bull. If you guys did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you are new. And with that being said, guys, I shall catch you in the next one.